Okay, so good morning, everybody. So what we're going to discuss is trying to analyze wars which take place in the Tanakh. Okay, wars which take place in the Tanakh. What were the reasons for them? How did they develop? What are the halachic implications of each war? Now, I'm not promising you how long it's going to take, this business. It might take us a few years, because there's plenty of wars in Tanakh, and we'll try to analyze them. So, the first war which takes place in the Tanakh is Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu, goes out to save Lot in the battle between the 4 and the 5 kings. I haven't got a loud voice, sorry. So, the battle between the 4 and the 5 kings takes place, and Lot is captured in Sodom. And what happens is that Avraham Avinu decides to go out and tries to save Lot, which he does, and he manages to overcome the 4 empires. We're not going to go into them. And Avraham Avinu does that. And then it comes at the end of the story that the Melech of Sodom, the king of the Sodom, comes out to him, and etc., etc. Let's read the psukim which are important for us. Okay, so the Torah comes and says the following: Vayikchu et Lot ve'et rechusho, and they take Lot and his rechush, ben achi Avraham, vayelchu, v'hu yoshev b'Sodom, and he was living in Sodom. Vayavo hapalit, and the refugee comes, vayaged la'Avraham ha'ivri, and Avraham Avinu shochen be'elonei moreh, and Avraham Avinu is living in Elon Moreh. Aimori, Achi Eshkol, Achi Aner, which is basically Hebron. Vahim Baalei Brit Avraham, so try to work out the geography. Okay, the battle of the 4 kings of the 5 kings takes place more or less in the valley of Sodom. And Avraham Avinu is in the mountain in Hebron. And Avraham Avinu hears the story. Vayishma Avraham, and Avraham hears Ki nishba achiv, that his nephew is captured. Vayarak et chanichav, and he gets hold of all the people who live with him. Yilidei beito, 318 guys. They go out to fight Kedar Laomer, which obviously they really don't have much of a chance. And yet Avraham Avinu does it. So how does he plan it out? Vayechalek aleim laila, and he goes down at night, v'avadam, and he manages to surprise them. He manages to chase them to over the river and near to Damascus. So that's the story. And the question is, how is it possible that Avraham Avinu does such a thing? Puts his life in danger. Is a person allowed to put his life in danger to save somebody else? Now, when you weigh up the chances, Avraham Avinu logically doesn't have a chance. And that's the question which the Al-Sheikh asks. The Al-Sheikh was one of the greatest commentators on the Torah. He lived in Tzfat. There's a very famous shul there, the shul of the Al-Sheikh. The Maram Al-Sheikh, he lives in the time of Rabbi Yosef Karo. And that's what he asks. He says the following: Ma'ala alev Avraham litafek lirdof acharei arba malachim gedolei olam asher hinisu v'hiku chamisha malachim. They manage to fight, destroy 5 kings. So this little Avraham with a few 318 guys, after they've smashed up 5 of the main cities in Sodom, and what happens? Avraham Avinu goes out. He says, the guy must be mad. Ma'ala lev Avraham. Uma gam atal omrim ki et Eliezer levado, and according to Chazal, he just took Eliezer, he didn't take anybody else. Ve'ech arav, third line, ve'ech arav el libo. Lirdof acharei melachim gdolim hu v'naro. Ve'halo, ein la'adam lasim et atzmo b'sakana. Okay, a guy who doesn't know how to swim, he doesn't go and jumps in the water, even though he's got a mitzvah of atzolas nefoshes, to save somebody. See, if he doesn't know to go out to swim, will he go to swim and save the guy? He doesn't know how to swim. No, he's putting his life in danger. So how does this Avraham Avinu go out, 318 guys, and wants to save Lot? Ve'en u'kumo she'amru shema ein osim lo nes. You don't rely on a miracle. Okay? The whole of beginning of Sefer Bamidbar, says the Ramban, that the reason why we have counting all the soldiers when they're preparing to go into Eretz Yisrael is because you've got to have an army, and you don't rely on miracles. So what does Avraham Avinu think? And Chazal say that if you do rely on a miracle, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes away some of your zchuyot. Ve'ein lecha mistaken gadol mizeh. Right, that is the question. So that is the first war which a Jew takes part in. And logically and halachically, he doesn't have anything to stand on. So, that doesn't help us. The fact that he won doesn't make any difference. Okay? Because we have to weigh up, halachically, logically, what's going on. Now, we're going to take one answer which we're going to give, is an answer which was given by one of the great Rosh Hashivas in America, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. I'm sure many of the Americans have heard of him. The Rosh Hashiva of Torah Vadas, he died at a ripe old age of 95, together with Rabbi Moshe Feinstein at more or less the same time. And he's got a very interesting answer, which isn't halachic. But we're going to learn his answer, and then we're going to go into this whole concept of wars. When do we use this concept of not putting yourself in danger? So we're going to start off with the Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, who wrote a famous sefer called Emes Yaakov. Okay, his children brought it out. All his chidushim on the Torah. They're quite amazing. And he says the following. Let's start off. Hine ilu aya Avraham shoel sheila. If Avraham Avinu would go to the Bezdin, would go to the Sanhedrin, and ask the question, I chayav la'atzil et Lot, if he should go out and save Lot, bevadai haya na'aneh shu patur, he's exempt. Da'ein adam mechuyav להכניס את עצמו בסופק סכנה בכדי להציל את חברו. It says halachically the guy didn't have anything to stand on. Okay? So why does he do it?
He's not chayav.
He's not chayav.
Doesn't say he's not.
And therefore, are you allowed to? Sanhedrin will say to him, "You're exempt from doing it."
But you can do it.
1 minute, you can do it. 1 minute, but then if you do it, you're an idiot. Okay?
For Avraham Avinu, you're right.
1 minute, 1 minute. Now that's going to be the next chidush. The next chidush is, why isn't Avraham Avinu an idiot? In inverted commas.
It's a mensch.
Right. It's a mensch. So Phil says, it's a mensch. And on that,
Not good enough.
Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky will build his whole thesis.
So it isn't good enough.
Let's see.
You knew that beforehand.
Okay, right.
You knew that beforehand.
You knew it.
It's also before my
1 minute.
He's saying, for the average man, you don't put yourself at risk.
No.
It's not a mitzvah to do it. But if you do it, you're a tzaddik.
1 minute. Now I'll ask you a simple question. Okay? You go ahead with that. A person, a goy comes along and says to you, okay, I'm going to kill somebody, I'm going to kill you if you don't kill somebody else. Or I'm going to kill you if you don't Mechalel Shabbos. Are you allowed to Mechalel Shabbos?
No, you should bump off the guy.
No.
Yes, you can get Halal Shabbos. It's not a yay already.
The Rambam says that if a person does it, he's chayav misa. If a person is Mechalel Shabbos when his life is threatened, he's Mechalel Shabbos.
Of course.
Why?
Because it's common sense.
What? What's common sense? So you're coming to say common sense is that Avraham Avinu goes and fights 4 kings who've just destroyed goodness knows how many people, killed how many people. That's common sense. And common sense, on the other hand, says don't give up your life to Mechalel Shabbos. So where does the mensch begin?
That's the point.
Right. Okay. Now we're going to discuss it.
Also,
Where does the mensch begin?
also, this is before Matan Torah.
Okay. It's for Matan Torah.
I want to make this a serious point, not just a
Was
debate.
Avraham's intention to go to war?
One minute, hold on a minute. Somebody's speaking, then we'll get to you.
It depends on the character of the person. Avraham Avinu had the character and the flaws. He didn't look it up in the Shulchan Aruch whether he should go to attack. He felt.
Okay, we'll get to the explanation of Yaakov Kamenetsky in a minute, which he goes on those lines. Yeah, what did you want to say?
Was Avraham's intention to go to war, or was it just to free Lot? So
1 minute, but he knew that he can't free Lot without going to war.
how do you know that?
Because, if you know he's captured
No,
and he's in the tunnels of Kedar LaOmer, what are you going to do then?
Well, maybe he figured that he can just with his 300.
It was a limited operation, but it's still.
Okay, so everybody's now a military analyst. Everybody's a military analyst nowadays. Okay, let's go ahead and see Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. Says the following: "Elama she'asa ken Avraham, hu mishum she'avot nikra'im yesharim. V'hainu, shekol hanagatam lo haya al pi dinei Torah." It's not according to Torah. אלא על פי השכל היושר. כי אלוקים עשה את האדם ישר, ועל פי היושר, and if you've got a person of integrity, היה מוטל לאברהם להשתדל להציל את לוט. כי אברהם הרגיש את עצמו. אברהם felt כאחראי, responsible, לשלומו של לוט, for the welfare of לוט. מכיוון שהרן אביו מת בכבשן אביו, because his father was killed according to Chazal in the fiery furnace of Nimrod, משום שהוא מאמין באלוקי ישראל, באלוקי אברהם. ולכן על פי היושר, or what you called it Phil, menschlichkeit, הוכרח אברהם להריק את חניכיו ולרדוף אחרי המלכים. So therefore, din Torah is one thing. Okay? Din Torah is one thing. Then comes what we call to be a mensch. And sometimes you do take the law into your own hands. And he says what you say. ובאמת כל חיי האבות שחיו קודם זמן תורה היה מונהגים על פי יושר. דהיינו, I'm turning over the other side, דרך ארץ קדמה לתורה. והיינו שהאבות התנהגו על דרך ארץ, והישר עוד קודם לתורה. And therefore, that is one way of looking at it. So he claims, and let's just carry on reading, ונראה שזהו פשוטו של מקרא. This is the simple explanation of the pasuk in the end of Mishpatim. ואתנה לך, and I'm going to give you, and this is Matan Torah, לוחות האבן, התורה והמצווה. I'm giving you the Torah and the mitzvah. To bishlam mitzvah, I understand the word mitzvah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving you mitzvahs. היינו מצוות שנצטוו בהם. אבל מה זה Torah? What do we mean by the word Torah here? So, ונראה שהכוונה לסיפורי התורה של האבות. The word Torah, at the time of Matan Torah or before Matan Torah, speaks about the Torah of the Avot. What do we mean by the Torah of the Avot? The Torah of the Sipurim. All the Sipurim, all the stories of the Avot is called Torah. And he explains, V'hainu sharei lashon Torahu milashon hora'ah. Klomar, more derech. Ki sipurim eilu morim la'adam ech lechyot afilu beli tzivoy Hashem yisborach. So therefore we've got two Torot. We've got the Torah of mitzvahs, and we've got the Torah of logic. Logic. Now these two Torot have to work hand in hand. One of the great Rishonim, his name was Rabbeinu Nissim, wrote Drashot, a very famous book called Drashot Haran. And in the Drashot Haran, he speaks about two concepts of Torah. What we call Mishpat HaSanhedrin, the law of the Sanhedrin, Umishpat HaMelucha, and the Mishpat of kings. The Mishpat HaSanhedrin, the law of the Sanhedrin, is exactly according to the letter of the law. Mishpat HaMelucha, the king, if the Sanhedrin give him the authority, doesn't have to work always in the framework of Halakha. He's got a right to do certain things which a normal person doesn't have the right to do it. And it's this balance which, says the Ran, exists between the two worlds. The world of absolute law and the world of the 5th volume of Shulchan Aruch, Seichel. Sometimes we don't always go according to Halakha when we need to, and here we're going to discuss this concept which Avraham Avinu taught us, Mishpat HaMelucha, when there is a need to go according to your own Seichel. And many times in the world of war, Mishpat HaMelucha precedes Mishpat HaSanhedrin. The law of the king precedes laws of Sanhedrin. And here we're going to discuss this concept, how it works together. Because this is what Avraham Avinu taught us. Right. That is the introduction. Okay? Mishpat HaMelucha vis-a-vis Mishpat HaSanhedrin. The law of the king vis-a-vis the law of the Sanhedrin. Yeah.
There's another status. The laws are the minimum standards. So minimum standards, you should not, it is that you should do such and so, but it doesn't mean that you do more.
Yeah, but sometimes it goes against. That's the problem. Exactly. When Mishpat HaMelucha goes against the law. Let's give ourselves example. Okay? Chilul Shabbos. Chilul Shabbos is one of the worst averos. What happens in the time of war? Now, when will what is the correct balance? It's not necessarily pikuach nefesh, but what is the correct balance? Okay? That's what we're going to speak about. Because Avraham Avinu gives us a new indication of all this concept. So now what we're going to discuss is, first of all, when a person puts his life in danger. Yes, Harold?
Yeah, I don't make it a big deal. But, because you referred to logic and seichel, but Rabbi Yaakov refers to yashrut.
Okay.
And
correct.
they may be different. I don't want to fine line, but that Avraham Avinu was yashar, not necessarily logical.
Correct, but he felt that there's certain times when you do put your life in danger, okay, at the expense of the world of Halakha, and that's what we're going to speak about. Right. So let's start off our journey. Okay, so we're going to start off with a Torah. The Torah says the following: Haro'eh et chavero tovea banahar. Okay, you see somebody drowning. Or shelistim. Or robbers are coming. Chayav la'atzilo, bein begufo, bein b'mimono. Yeah, 1 minute, yeah.
No, I printed this off.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Haroet chavero tovea banahar. Okay, next time can we please with lines. I always send my source sheets with lines. Okay? The trouble is you printed it on Google Print and not on Word. All my source sheets have got lines on. Numbered lines.
Always in Hebrew.
Always in Hebrew. I can't read, okay, here. Daniela, here. This is the way it comes out on my pages. Word document. That's how I send it always. Okay, because otherwise people get lost. No. It's, I always used to write before you came to the first, when I used to give many years ago, I always line documents, otherwise you get lost. Right, so let's start off. Haroet chavero tovea banahar. O shelistim ba'im elav. Chayav lahatzilo. You've always got to save them. Ben begufo b'mimono. V'harambam katav. הרואה את חברו שטובע בנהר ויכול להצילו, או שיזכור אחרים להצילו, you've got to rent, you've got to pay people to save him, וכל כיוצא בזה, עובר על לא תעמוד על דם רעך. A person who sees somebody else drowning, okay, and you stay there, and you can swim, what have you got to do? You've either got to pay somebody who knows how to swim better than me to go and save him. You pay him. Or you what? Or you yourself go and swim, etc., etc. And if you don't, you're there, lo ta'amod al dam re'echa. You have seen somebody dying.
If you know how
1 minute, wait. Slowly. We build it up, stage by stage. Okay? Now, comes along the Beit Yosef, and he says the following. וכתבו אגוד מהמוניות, ועבר על לא תעמוד, וירושלמי מסיק, אפילו להכניס עצמו בספק סכנת חייו. ונראה שהטעם מפני שהלה ודאי והוא סופק. Right? So we've got a huge machlokas. What happens if I'm not such a good swimmer? I don't know how to swim properly. Have I got a liability to go and put myself in danger to save somebody else? Pardon? That is, the Beit Yosef brings two opinions. Okay? אפילו להכניס את עצמו בספק סכנה חייב. He's got to do it. Okay? ונראה שהטעם מפני שעלה ודאי, he's חייב. He's liable for punishment because he's put himself in danger. ונראה שהטעם מפני שעלה ודאי והוא סופק. The only time this guy's definitely going to drown if I don't go and save him. But two people might drown. Okay? I don't know whether I'm going to be a good enough swimmer. I can swim. Have I got the strength in the sea to pull him out? I'm not a pro. I'm not a professional. I haven't been taught how to life save. Have I got a power to swim backstroke and schlepping the guy on with my hands, swimming with one hand? Okay, think to yourself. Not swimming pool. Take the sea. Even a swimming pool is complicated. But in a sea, a river, we're talking about the Jordan. We're talking about a proper river. Okay, or the Kinneret, where there are tides. There's waves. What is my liability? Sofek Sakona. I put myself in Sofek Sakona, and he's in Vadai Sakona. What do I do? Okay, now that is the problem. That is the case.
Wait.
What?
The word chayav here
Yes.
means he's chayav to put himself in danger,
That's-
or he's chayav because he's over.
We'll see in a minute. Okay?
Oh,
We're going to discuss this now.
okay.
Okay? Okay? According to the Yerushalmi, I've got a liability to put myself in danger. I have to, and that's what we're going to see now.
That
Okay?
means you have a possibility of saving him.
I've got, even if I've got a possibility of saving him, but I know will I live or not?
You don't know.
We don't know. That is the problem. Okay? Now, comes along one of the great commentators on the Shulchan Aruch, on the Tur. And he says the following. ומה שכתב הרמב"ם כותב הרואה נראה דלפי דמלשון הברייתא משמע דחייב להצילו, he has to go and save him, אפילו אינו ברור לו שיוכל להצילו, חייב להכניסו עצמו בסופק סכנה להצילו. I've got a sofek where I can go in, I've got to go and do it. There's no difference. Avraham Avinu, let's take now Avraham Avinu. Sofek he'll get out of there alive, Sofek he won't get there out alive. Sofek I'll save him, Sofek I won't save him. I'm in a doubt. There are two doubts here. Whether Avram will get out alive and whether Avram will manage to save him. Okay? I've got two doubts here. What do I do? Avraham Avinu did that, guys. Even he didn't know whether he's going to keep the mitzvah of saving him, and also he didn't know whether he's going to get out of there alive. Avraham Avinu still did it. The same thing with swimming. I see a guy who's drowning. Sofek I'll manage to save him. Sofek whether I will live. Okay? I don't know what the end result's going to be. Yet, there are opinions who say, what do? Go and do it. Right, let's carry on. The mashma. Aval Rambam katav, please take note in the Rambam. He says, V'yachol latzilo. I've got the ability of saving him. Now, the mashma, the dafka, b'de ein safek she'yachol latzilo. I've got a way up. First of all, will I be able to save him? Have I got the power to swim and save him? If I don't have the power to swim and save him, okay, I've got a way up whether I'm a strong enough swimmer. Do I have the energy to save him? Right, that's the first question. And the Rambam says, if I'm not a good enough swimmer, don't take a chance. 1 minute. Okay? Let's say I'm in doubt whether I'm a strong enough swimmer. Okay? Here, this is the machlot, the difference of opinion between the Bavli and the Yerushalmi. Not whether I can save him, whether I'm a strong enough swimmer. Okay? Because every time there are two doubts. And that's what he says. ולכן, אבל אינו חייב להכניס לעצמו בספק סכנה להצלת חברו. לכן אמר והרמב"ם כתב כנראה שחולק. Okay? It appears there's a machloket. Because in every situation there are two doubts. Whether I'm a strong enough Rambo, okay? And my next question is whether I can save him. If I'm strong enough, that's one doubt. If I can save him, is another doubt. Pardon? Those are the questions. Two sfeikot stand in front of me. First of all, whether I'm strong enough. Number two is, what are my chances of saving him? If there are no chances of saving him, because I know by the time I will get to him, he will already be half drowned, then I've got no mitzvah. So therefore, says the Rambam and the Tur, I always have to weigh up what the situation is before I put myself in danger.
You have to do it with seconds.
With seconds, obviously. It's true. Okay? With Avraham Avinu could have been different. Swimming is a different, or there it's seconds. You're right. Okay? With Avraham Avinu, you can plan it out a bit longer. Let's look in next stage. Says the Smat, one of the great commentators on the Shulchan
Is there also a
Aruch.
difference between one against one?
Pardon?
Isn't there also a difference one against one?
But that's in swimming, correct.
As opposed to an army against...
1 minute, we'll get to war in a minute. Let's try to analyze all the different situations. Okay, because that's what it is. It's analyzing situations. Says the Smat, one of the great commentators on Shulchan Aruch. Aver alot amod. When does a person over alot amod? ובהגות Maimonides כתבו בירושלמי מסיק דצריך אפילו להכניס לעצמו בספק סכנה עבור זה. I've got to put myself in danger. I'm allowed to. והביאו הבית יוסף. וטעם שמפני שעליו ודאי והוא סופק. He's definitely going to drown and I've got a סופק. גם זה השמיטו המחבר. Shulchan Aruch, this is not brought. Why isn't it brought? Because the Shulchan Aruch says only if you're 100% sure that you can save this guy, then I'm allowed to go in and swim. Two things. I've got to be sure I'm going to get out, and I'm more or less sure I can what? I can save him. If either one is a doubt, then don't do it. That's the opinion of the Shulchan Aruch. Your life precedes everything. Chayecha, your life, kodmim lechayei chavercha. Always. Right? Always your life precedes. If you know you can do both, go for it. A doubt, you don't go for it. That is the clear halakha from Shulchan Aruch, Rambam, etc., and we don't go according to the Yerushalmi. Right. If that is the case, asks the Minchas Chinuch, how do we go out to war? How do we go out to war? What is the halachic ramifications of going out to war? 1 minute, don't answer. Everybody can have his thoughts, but let's try to analyze the depths of the question.
But that's not fair.
Phil, I'm not asking you whether it's fair or not, okay? We're not speaking about fair or not. No, let's analyze the question. Okay? What is the analysis of the question? The analysis of the question is the following. We have klekat halacha. When does the din of lo ta'amod al dam re'acha take place? When aren't I allowed to see another person die? The answer is, if I have the physical capability to go and save him, and I know I will save him, then I've got a liability to go out and save somebody. If I don't have that, then I'm not allowed to. Okay? If that is the case, Avraham Avinu was wrong. Weighing up Halakha, Avraham Avinu was wrong. And that becomes the problem of war. Let's read the Minchas Chinuch. Excuse me, please, put away phone. Okay, please.
It's like children.
Put it on silent.
It's not my phone, I promise you. Please. Okay. When I taught in university, I would have sent you out. Okay? Tzorich iyun. Nehi. D'chol ha-mitzvot nitchim mipnei ha-sakona. All mitzvahs are pushed aside in the case of danger. Okay? Shabbos, okay, doesn't, sakona, I don't put myself in sakona. Mikol makom, mitzvah zu. This specific mitzvah of going out to war. Okay? Going out to war means I'm putting myself in danger. Do I know whether I'm going to come back? No. Mitzvah zu. The Torah tzivta lilchom imahem. The Torah says, go and fight against the 7 nations. Okay? You're putting yourself in danger. Am I allowed to put myself in danger? No. Chayecha kulmim. Okay? You've got the famous story of Rabbi Akiva and Ben Keturah. Is you own a bottle of water and you're stuck in the desert. What do? You keep yourself. Here, I'm going out to danger. What? For my country, etc., etc. It's all great ideals. V'yadua da Torah lo tismoch dineha alanes. You don't rely on miracles. Kivua baramban. Uvederech haolam, in the way of the world, what happens? Neragim mishnei atzadim beis milchama. People are going to get killed. Imke chazinan, we see from here, da Torah gazra lilchom imahem. Yet the Torah says, go and fight. Afdu sakona, even though it's danger. Imke d'chuyas sakana. Danger is put aside. Bimkom hazeh. Umitzvah la'arog oto, af sheyistaken v'tzorich iyu. Says the Minchas Chinuch, what is the halachic concept regarding war? It's a seeming contradiction. Because if the Torah comes and says, my life precedes first, okay, and I don't, I'm allowed to save my life and mechalel Shabbos in order to save myself, okay, and I'm allowed to mechalel Shabbos to save myself. Got a mitzvah. Why? Because my life precedes everything. Yet all of a sudden the Torah changes its whole way of thinking. That war, you're allowed to put yourself in danger. What is the balance? The same thing says the Minchas Chinuch regarding Amalek. You've got a mitzvah of fighting Amalek. We know that what? That fighting Amalek demands from people a war. What? Because I've got a mitzvah to fight Amalek, I'm going to, go out and fight against them? Now we're not talking about necessarily defense. We're not talking about self-defense. We're talking about a situation where David HaMelech or Shaul HaMelech goes out on the basis of the commandment of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of Shmuel, go out and fight Amalek. What do you mean? I know Shaul HaMelech could say to Shmuel, I know my soldiers are going to die. And what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu say to you? No, go out. Have a war. Go and kill. How's that possible, says the Minchas Chinuch? What is the balance here? Okay, that is the basic question. The same thing with Avraham Avinu. And that is the depth of the question of the Alshich. Avraham Avinu goes out and he knows he's not going to just do a surprise attack, etc., etc. He knows that his chances are relatively dim. You're talking about a professional army who have just killed 4 kings and they've won. And Avraham Avinu goes out and fights. What do you mean? You're relying on a miracle, Avraham Avinu? No, I'm not. There's chances? No chances. Yet, in war, people are going to die. So what is the halachic premise of war? That is the basic question. And who is allowed to go and define war? How do I know? When is murder allowed? When is putting myself in danger allowed? And how does it all work out? Right. That is the depth of the question. Okay, now here we're talking not in menschlichkeit and what is good, what might be correct, but what is the expecting, what is the way, what does the Torah expect from us? Or how does the Torah deal with its seeming contradiction, self-contradiction? Life vis-a-vis war. Right, let's start. Comes along the Netziv, and he gives us an insight, an amazing insight. Okay, the Torah comes and tells us Sheva mitzvos b'nei Noach. One of them is you're not allowed to murder. Shofech. What does the Torah say? V'ach edimchem lenafshotechem ed rosh. I will seek somebody who kills somebody. Miyad kol chayai dreshenu. Umiyad adam. Miyad ish achiv edrosh et nefesh adam. I will seek the murderer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to make sure that after the sin of Cain and Hevel, and after what happens in Noach, there's got to be laws. And one of the laws is, what? No killing. Says the Netziv in Hamek Davar. Piresh HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu explained, Eimatai ha'adam ne'enash. When is a person going to be punished for killing somebody? B'sha'a shera'oi linhog ba'achva. When it's expected of you to treat somebody else in a decent way. When you and your brother have got to live together. That is the expectancy. And that's why the Torah says, Miyad ish achiv edrosh. When you live together in a normal situation. Mashe'en ken b'shas milchoma. The time of chas v'chavila, a war, the et lisno. And the time has come to hate somebody. As et laharog. Then there is a time to kill. HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the time of war doesn't punish anybody if he will kill somebody. Why? Because there's war and there's peace. The time when people live together in a normal society and the time of war. The ein onesh al ze klal. You don't get punished for it. Ki kach nosad ha'olam. Sometimes there is a need to hate. Sometimes there is a need to what? To fight. For your own existence. And fighting for your own existence is a time when the other person is not your brother. He wants to kill you. So therefore, what is the definition of war? First of all, the definition of war is you have to create the environment that you are being hated. Amalek hates Am Yisrael. That was the whole essence, the ethos of Amalek, hating Klal Yisrael. The 7 nations could not bear the thought that Am Yisrael are going into Eretz Yisrael. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, for your own existence, you have to fight. Okay, it's part of, okay, I heard a very, very interesting podcast, I think. Either you fight for your religion, you fight for your nation, or you fight for the existence of your race. Okay, 3 concepts. There was a period of history where they hated Jews for their religion. There was a period in history where they hated Jews for your race. And there's a period of history where you hate you because you're a nation. Okay? That is not living in a normal environment. That is not achva. Let's go back to the pasuk. It says, Umiyad ha'adam, umiyad ish achiv edrosh et nefesh ha'adam. When you know how to live as brothers live together, not Cain and Hevel, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you go and murder, then you're in trouble. Cain and Hevel were supposed to live together as a normal life. What's very special about that is, let's just read the pasuk. The pasuk says the following. The Torah says, and that's another explanation of the Netziv, it says there, Adam yada et Chava ishto, vatar vatelet et Cain. She gave birth to Cain. Vatosef laledet, and she carries on and gives birth again. Et achiv et Hevel, his brother Hevel. Asks the Netziv, why is it written et achiv et Hevel? Should have been vatolet laledet et Hevel. Why achiv? Because, says the Netziv, the whole concept of living together is your ability to live as a brother. Echad. Aleph, Chet, the two basic letters of the word Ach or Echad, in unity. And if you can't live in unity, then that's not the way of living. And that's why the Torah specifically says, what was supposed to be the relationship between Cain and Hevel? Ach, brotherhood. And Cain doesn't keep by that. Now, says the Netziv, there are periods in history where people cannot live together as brothers. It doesn't exist. That is et lisno. At the time when people feel they're against one another, then milchama is allowed. And therefore, in situations like that, you won't be chayav, liable to a death penalty, even by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, at the time when you cannot treat the other person as a brother. That is rule number one. The heter, war is permissible if you know that we can't live together. Right, stage number one. Next stage. Let's go to the next pasuk. Vayasfu hashotrim. And the shotrim came along. That means they were the people of in the time of Milchama. And they used to say, Va'amru, Mi ha'ish hayareh v'rach levav. Who is the person who's weak-hearted? Yelech v'yashov leveito. V'lo yimas et levav achiv ki levavo. And you mustn't melt your brother's heart. Because if you know you're weak and you won't be able to fight, there won't be the correct morale. Says the Netziv here. Again. Ve'ein isur b'milchama. There is no, milchama is not forbidden. K'mo she'ein melech muzar milasot milchemet harashut. Hagorem sakanat nefashot. Milchama, shining. War is different. And therefore, if I know that I will break the morale of the people, I'm not allowed to be a soldier. Because I'm putting them in danger. That's what the Netziv says. Hachinami ein isur la'adam la'achnis atzmo b'milchama או לסכן עצמו, אבל ולא יימס את לבבו. In order to be able to be a soldier, then what? I have to be the type of person who can uplift the morale. And if I don't, then I'm not allowed to go out to war. Because what will happen? I am putting the others in danger. That's why the Shotrim had to say, anybody who's weak-hearted, and he will be able to create this sort of feeling amongst the soldiers that what? They won't be able to overcome, and they won't be strong inside. I am putting them in danger. Right. So therefore, milchama is allowed. It's an option. And the option means to say, I will go out to kill. And I'm allowed to put myself in danger. Now comes the next stage. What is the authority? Who is the authority who's allowed to go out to war? What is the authority? How does it begin? Okay? And that now becomes the next question. How does it develop? When do I create a state of war? Who was the authority to create this war? Now, very complex. Very, very complex. Now, the first battle which takes place, okay, is Melchemes Amalek. The war of Amalek. There we don't have such a problem. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, do it. No problem. Okay? There we don't have a problem. The first person who actually creates an army is Moshe Rabbeinu. But there Moshe Rabbeinu still has the authority of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes and tells him, go and fight, or go and fight Sichon. Yoshua is the first one. Yoshua basically is the first one. He goes and captures Yericho, he goes and captures Ai, etc., etc. And we once spoke about it many years ago when we started learning the book of Yoshua. And one of the things which takes place in the story of Yoshua is the first chapter of Sefer Yoshua. We read it on Simchas Torah. And one of the things which takes place there is the following. All Am Yisrael, after the death of Moshe, Yoshua speaks to them, and the people come along and say, anybody who will rebel against you can be put to death. Yoshua, in actual fact, becomes first king. The Rambam says Yoshua was a king. He has the authority of a king. And therefore, when the Rambam sees this, he creates for us a completely new category. What does he say? Pirtei HaMitzvot, the details of the mitzvah, al Seder Halachot. Hilchot Melachim u'Milchamot. The laws of kings and wars. Now, there's no such thing as Hilchot Milchama. There are laws of war. But there's no war without what? King. Not Sanhedrin, not the law courts, kings. Kodesh Baruch Hu comes along and says that a king has the authority to create or go out to war. Nobody else. The Shoftim, the whole of the book of Shoftim, why were they called Shoftim? Because as long as they were no Malachim, they were the leaders. And therefore, they had the authority, Dvorah, complains about certain tribes who were willing to go out with them. They had the authority, a minimal authority, but the authority to go out to war. The concept of war has to go through a framework. I, as an individual, can't come and say, guys, let's go out and make a war. Central authority. And that's why the Rambam comes along and tells us, Hilchot Melachim u'Milchamot. And the Rambam says there are 23 mitzvahs, including in the laws of kings, are 23 mitzvahs. 10 positive commandments, 13 negative commandments. War is a function which belongs to the king, nobody else. So therefore, Avraham Avinu, in inverted commas, how could he take out his guys? Now let's take the note of the Torah. Let's go back to the first sentences. Vayikhu et Lot, right at the beginning. Vayikhu et Lot vet ruchusho ben achi Avraham. They take all his possessions. V'hu yoshev b'Sodom. Vayavo hapalit vayaged laAvraham ha'ivri. And they told Avraham Avinu, Vayishma Avraham ki nishba achiv. Now, He doesn't get his friends. What does he do? What are they called? Vayarek et chanichav yelidei beito. He takes the people who he's got the authority over them. In order that there should be a war, there has to be an absolute authority. Okay? And that's why the Torah specifically writes the words Vayarek et chanichav yelidei beito. The people who he brought up. The king has authority. Yoshua had the authority. Moshe Rabbeinu had the authority. David HaMelech, Shaul HaMelech. And that is the foundation. That's what this parsha teaches us. Now, one minute, let me just finish off. The question now is, we don't have a king. What is the authority? How did Halakha develop authority? In the 21st century. 20th century. Okay? That is the next shiur. Part of it. Questions? Yeah.
The question is, does that mean the draft, because the Torah says, send home the retard.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that there's no draft?
There was a draft. Of course there was. Everybody had to come.
Unless there was three.
And then when they got to the area where all the soldiers were collected together, after they've trained, then the Shotrim used to come and say, guys, have you got the ability to stand up to it? And if you don't, go home.
How does that apply today?
We'll get to it. Slowly, we'll get to it.
The opposite, because a lot of times they go to the draft when they're 18 and say they can't do it.
Exactly. We'll get to that. That is the framework which we're going to work in. Hilchos Milchoma, and it's all based on these concepts. But the first one is Avraham Avinu. After we finish this, then we'll go to the next war, which is the Milchama of Midian and Pinchas, etc., etc. We're going to go through different wars in the Torah. And different principles, obviously. Okay, Daniela, please next time, numbers. Yeah. 1 minute back. Please keep this because we haven't finished. Next week we're carrying on. Give it to Daniela. 2 weeks time. 2 weeks time, guys.
More or less every other week.
2 weeks? Not next week.
No, I'm on holiday next week.